So what did you think of collaborating on XPly? Like, what did you think when I was like, could you record something for me?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was like, all right, yeah, no problem. Let me see the text. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. So, yeah, let's record this. And I had no idea what you were going to do with it. Although you kind of teased something. So I was like, okay, let's go and record it. And I thought the text was pretty cool. And I actually thought it was going to be like the text going over and maybe just some glitches over here and there, but it ended up being something like not completely unintelligible, but I don't know. I think the result was way cool. So I felt like surprised, and in a good way, and that's something I love to. I mean, I love to be surprised when I don't know, with music, with films, with anything I enjoy. And what did you think of what I recorded?
Well, I don't know, I wasn't really surprised. I noticed that there was a lot of noise in the recording, which was at first kind of annoying, but it worked out. It was interesting to work with that added noise. But yeah, I mean, I just needed the recording. I just needed something simple, like just a straightforward recording, and it didn't need to be sung or anything. It just needed to work for what I had in mind, which was basically CSEC from Autechre, but it did not turn out that way at all, which I'm fine with because you can't always plan everything. But I don't know, the way the track worked out was interesting.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was cool.
I started with the vocals instead of working with a beat first and then doing it on the beat. So that was interesting.
But and that was also the first time you worked with some text on your music, right?
I have worked with text, but it was always the same thing. This was just very intentional. Like, I was going for a specific thing. Like, okay, I had this text and it had to be used a specific way because I had something in mind, instead of like, oh, well, I could use this text again and do this with that or whatever. It was different to use vocals like that. And normally I pitch them or do something weird with them, but this time I couldn't really pitch them up or down because your voice didn't really lend itself for that stuff. I just had to use it as it was, instead of really making it different and glitchy and such. It was just repeating and chopped, and parts where you just skip something completely, and things that were repeated like 10 times, and it was just the way it worked out.
What did you think of working on music together after XPly?
It was interesting because I was like, well, if we can do something like this together, then why can't we do something more, something with a beat, something with a melody, something maybe with actual lyrics, something that we actually worked on together, instead of I have an idea and you record something for me and then I use it. I thought it was interesting to actually work on something together and see where it would lead, because we have kind of different styles and different way of working on something. And obviously, like, I've never used singing on anything, so like that was an interesting experience. I had never used like anything actually written for a specific purpose other than it being glitchy, like on XPly. This all had to make sense in some way. And yeah, it was not just the way you work and the way I work. It's also specific sound design that then comes together. Like, you have your sound design, I have my sound design, you have your melodies, I have my melodies, and beats, and I thought that was interesting to do. And then when we actually worked together first, which was Bones, hi, I thought that was really cool because we finally saw how it was, what it was like to work together on a track or on a song or anything, basically.
It went pretty easy, right? Because you sent me like this beat, and it was like a couple bars long, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna loop this beat, and then I'm gonna try some piano stuff and some harmony. I don't know, inspired with your lyrics. You asked me when was the first time we worked on Bones, but I don't know where's that project. Did you find it?
No, I don't have that project anymore. I don't have the original file anymore. I accidentally saved over it.
Oh, damn. So we don't have any clue.
No. But I think it's somewhere January, February of 2015, maybe?
Yeah, probably. So
something like that. So, yeah, that's old.
Yeah. The thing was that it came right away. I mean, we didn't have to discuss a lot of things like, I remember you telling me something like, maybe you are making a lot of high pitch voicings or notes. Why don't you try like an octave below? And it turned out pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, one thing I always enjoyed about working with you is that we can just say the things that we think that are on top of our head, and we don't have this issue with my ego was hurt or anything.
I mean, if we're gonna work together, we should both like what we did.
Something that I really enjoyed also was that the sounds and the melody also came out like naturally to me, and then you liked it. So I think that was like a very good starting point.